Are you thinking about giving us a call, texting us, or emailing us? We thought so. We're getting a lot of phone calls, texts, and emails from people, so we thought we'd do a video on it, on how you can work with us, and we're getting after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about us and living in the greater Portland metro area, then make sure you click that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, do a little happy dance, and you'll be the first to know about everything happening in our Portland market. I'm Ann Stewart. This is Erica Hagfirst. We're your go-to gals when you're thinking about making that move. And if you're watching this video continually, then you're going to know all about how to work with us if you do decide you're going to make the move. Like Erica said, all of our contact information is listed below, and we'd love for you to be a part of our community. We love the reach outs. We love the people that we are getting to interact with. So we would love to do that with you as well. All right, so the first step, if you're looking to talk with us about your move, whether you're living locally, which we do have people living locally who reach out to us, as well as from another state or city, we encourage you to reach out to us. And there's 3 different ways you can do that. The first one is get on our website.
Yeah, we've got a form that you can fill out. That's going to give us important details so that we can start that conversation. The second would be calling or texting us.
We get a lot of texts.
We do. We get a ton of texts. We love waking up to those or getting those throughout the day. And then the third would be to email us. All of our contact information is on the website. It's on YouTube, so you should not have any problem finding it.
Yeah.
However, if you do, leave a comment. We always check those, and we can get in touch with you that way as well. But that's the number one step if you want to, start getting a little more information, or you're thinking about making that move. Reach out. We love to chat. We can't chat.
And the next very step in that is we usually schedule a Zoom call. So probably about 95% of all of our scheduled calls with people who reach out is on Zoom. It helps us to kind of put a face to the name. It helps us understand what your goals are. And we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Okay, and what does a Zoom call entail? What does it look like when we schedule this?
Yes. So first of all, we don't bite. So even though people don't like to get on Zoom to show their faces sometimes, it's fine. Well, first of all, schedule about an hour. It doesn't always take that long. Anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes is about the average. But sometimes we do take longer because people have some strategic needs that they need to talk through. And so we take at least an hour, just budget for that.
And that's the benefit of doing this face-to-face in real time, is that we can actually have that conversation and understand. There's some things that just can't be done as effectively via email or texting or even on a phone call. Sometimes it's good to get eye to eye.
Yep. And we ask a lot of questions. So we know the questions to ask to help you kind of go from where you're at now to where you want to be.
And it's just for better understanding. We really like to know so that we can, because every situation is just a little bit different. And sometimes there could be, timing issues or certain needs.
Or you got to sell a house.
Yeah. Or you need certain things out of your property. It's not just that you're moving. Maybe you've got some other people who are going to be partaking with you, or, weird situations. We find those all the time. So the more information that we have and can really understand all the caveats, all the whys that are driving this move, the better we're going to be able to help you.
All right, the second thing we're going to talk a lot about is the type of house or property you're looking to buy. It doesn't mean you're going to buy this type of property, but we want to know in advance, what are your minimum goals for the house size, the bedrooms, things like that.
Yeah, so this is kind of the fun part, we say, is what you're actually after, what you're hoping to acquire when you make your move. And this, again, is really important for us because, there are a lot of different types of houses out there. Maybe you're like, no condos, no townhomes, no, anything with an HO. Okay, well, that's super important because that's going to take a big chunk of the inventory out of it. And that's totally fine. We can work with that. But again, the more that we know about what you're after, the better that we can push you in the right direction. Because if you're just like, I just need 4 walls and a roof, well, that's pretty easy, but do you have a commute? Do you need a yard? I mean, if you have a dog, we're going to want to make sure your dog has space, all those things. And it just really helps drive us. Also, some people are very particular about the style of home that they're wanting to be in. And that's really
even location. One thing we find is
huge.
A lot of people don't know where they want to live, or they have an idea because they've searched online. Maybe you've watched some of our videos, but ultimately we have to kind of hone in on the house and the location and, of course, the budget.
And sometimes the research being done on the internet doesn't take into things like our traffic, or that crossing the river can be real dicey if you're doing it every day with our traffic situation. So, that's where having a conversation is going to help you understand that, okay, if you're working on the west side, you're probably going to want to stay on the west side because of traffic. or especially if you only want a 15-minute commute. So, we can kind of have conversations about all of those things, hone in so that we're really making the best concerted effort on the search.
And a pro tip is if you're online already looking for homes and you've seen a few that really catch your eye, save those addresses, even if they've gone pending or sold, and send us the addresses, because that helps us identify the types of properties you're looking at, because all that helps us, hone in on the types of homes you're ultimately going to be looking at and buying.
Okay, so the number 3 thing that we talk about is financing. And why is this such a big deal?
This is probably the biggest deal, and here's why.
Huge.
It's not that we're like, what do you got to spend? But so much of this process, success and being able to be smooth in this process is being able to get your financing dialed in. Will you be paying cash or will you need financing is usually the question we ask. In most cases, people need financing from a bank or a lender. And why do you think it's important to know who to go through and all that, Erica?
So it's super important. Like Ann said, they're a huge part of the process, but not understanding your numbers or not having somebody who can get the job done is going to be huge. We see so many transactions die because of a bad lender, because of a lender that can't get the job done, who hasn't relayed what your true numbers are going to be. There's so many caveats to picking the right lender that it really is something that we spend a lot of time on, and we highly encourage you. We do have a preferred lender that we like to work with and that we suggest you speak with. At the end of the day, it's always your choice, but we highly and strongly, recommend against A, big banks, and B, online lenders. The reason for that is they just don't operate in the same function as having somebody that you can look eye to eye, speak with on the phone at any given moment. If you don't have your lender's cell phone number, you probably have some issues getting the job done.
The number one thing we find when people go online to some online lender or back east is they don't actually get the real numbers, meaning they don't get what we call a good faith estimate. That is actually the numbers that they're quoting you for your closing costs, your interest rate, your payments. And not that those are going to be exact, because usually interest rates are variable until you find the right property, but it's them showing you, hey, this is what it's going to cost you to buy this house at this price. And it allows you to shop other lenders and it allows you to see what they're talking about, because verbal means nothing until they put it in writing. And a lot of times we ask you, what is your closing cost? And you'll say, oh, I don't know. They never told me. And that's not okay.
And there's a big one there. So think about it's closing costs and prepaids. And we generally roll into one. We just call it closing costs. But there's 2 parts there. So when you get this good faith estimate, which I would not work with a lender that does not provide one for you, because it's going to be a chunk of change. Even on a $400,000 or $500,000 house, you could ballpark, now don't quote me on these numbers, ballpark, probably $10,000 to $12,000 potentially. And what you have in that is your portion of escrow fees, your prepaids of, home insurance and property taxes, and then the cost to originate the loan. And so not understanding or having that accounted for, that money and what those could look like, could leave you in a big pickle.
Well,
and sometimes we have to negotiate these fees from the seller.
And we need to know what is needed if it's going to be negotiated. And the thing that's really key too is that oftentimes these online lenders, they don't know the local property tax averages, home insurance, so they leave it off. And then you think, oh, my closing costs are only $6,000 or whatever it is. So that's a really key piece. And the other thing is if you've watched our videos, you know how important localism is, meaning we are not into the big online franchises, anything like having a local lender means something to the listing agents in town that are looking for somebody that they know is going to take good care of you and actually do a good job. It's really in your best interest because they're incentivized to help you get through this process, be your number one point of communication, and what they say must be resonating the entire time. Whereas an online bank or a big bank, you get kind of shuffled around to different departments. They don't honor the timelines that the agreement that you have between the seller is. So it causes a lot of frustrations, delays, and ultimately it can cost you significantly more just to go that route.
And sometimes, it's the hours worked too. A lot of these bigger entities are online, they could be in another part of the country. So you're having to do all communication, say by 3:00, which doesn't always work. We're a lot of times working in the evenings, writing offers late into the night or first thing in the morning before, lenders are actually out and about. The other caveat that we'll talk about is when you're speaking with your lender, making sure that they know if you're planning to purchase something that has an HOA. HOAs affect your overall what you're approved for, because they have to take funds, that you could have been applied towards your overall $500,000 pre-approval rate. And maybe that drops you down to $450 if you're going to look at something that has an HOA of $200 or $300. So just knowing all these things, and again, local, they can shop all the, a mortgage broker is going to be your best bet because they can shop all the lenders. They're usually highly motivated to get the job done for you, and they can operate in a quicker manner.
And we're not saying that you can't shop your loan.
Please,
by all means
do.
And that's part of why getting a good faith estimate is so critical. So you can compare apples to apples when you talk to another lender. We actually like credit unions. We think usually credit unions offer good options for people. But the goal is work with somebody that actually has a track record, and they're going to be right there with you every step of the way. And when they say they can get something done, they can get it done. And that is why we put such an emphasis. Usually after our buyer consultation with you, we're going to encourage you to either, call our referred lender to start working on getting an option through that, or call your credit union, or if you have somebody you trust to do your loan, to really start working on that piece of it. Because a lot of times we talk about numbers with people and they say, oh, I was online working on a mortgage calculator online. But that mortgage calculator is not taking into consideration a lot of things, especially local things. And just recently we had a buyer consultation where they got approved online for a number. And then when they actually went to a lender to get pre-approved, it was substantially less because they realized their mortgage payment was not comfortable at a higher level. And that's really the key, is you want to know what your mortgage payments are going to look like, because we back into your home search pricing with that. Oftentimes you get pre-approved for way more than you're comfortable spending, and that's fine. We get that, but we need to know what is that mortgage payment number and closing costs that you're comfortable working in, so that we can say, all right, this is the price point. And this is what based on what you're hoping to get in a house, this is kind of how it lines up. And maybe you have to kind of talk about looking in some other areas to match what you're looking for, or compromise on a few things, because sometimes we're having to honor your price range, and what is in that price range oftentimes has some, give and take on what you're hoping to get.
And the other kind of issue or pitfall of these online mortgage calculators is that they may not take into account, you may find for your situation that conventional financing is not the best option. That could then put you into, or maybe conventional is still the best option, but it's going to be not 20% down. It's going to be 3, 5, or 10, which is then going to pop you into maybe some mortgage insurance. So you could be significantly off if, maybe you don't have your credit score right, or if, you end up with mortgage insurance, or your rate pops up a little bit because of other factors, debt to income. There's so many caveats when we're bringing together the financing piece, that having somebody who is going to get on the phone with you, explain everything to you, really take some time. We all go through this on, a pretty regular basis. And even then, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, that's our lender's job. He's going to explain this to you so that you know inside and out, up and down, forward and backward.
Yeah.
And that's really what you want. You want somebody who will take that time with you.
And that's why we are talking about it so much in this video, is because it is a key part in us being able to successfully get you through this process without too many, humps and bumps. We like to tackle the financing piece right out of the gate so we can help you efficiently. We don't like surprises. No. You don't like surprises. You don't like to fall in love with a house and then go do the numbers and, oh my gosh, we had no idea. So that's what we try to avoid.
And then, the other piece of this is understanding upfront if there's something in your, how you're paid or something like that that's going to affect or that needs to be addressed prior to falling in love with a house. So sometimes we meet with people and they need just a moment in time to, either pay something down or fix something that's going to make a significant difference in their overall pre-approval. And having that extra time up front is just critical to allow that to happen, so that you're not feeling like you missed out on a property because you waited till the last minute to get that pre-approval in place and really understand what the numbers we're going to do. All right, so number 2, or the second thing that we will generally go over during our initial Zoom consultation, is going to be home buying in the Portland area and what our market is doing at that time. And
so a lot of times we'll do a part 2 Zoom call if you don't know your budget, or if you really need to get an idea of numbers, because for us to talk about how we get you to find the property you're looking for, we really need to know that. So it might be a 2-step depending, but we want to talk about what is your budget and location doing specifically. All areas of Portland are very different. There could be neighborhoods that are
micro markets.
They could be months on market, tons of inventory, to that, what you're looking for moves very, very quickly in the market, and you're going to have to be ready to operate in that speed.
Yeah, and the market changes every, I would say, probably about 60 to 90 days. It's always shifting. Obviously, we're tied to interest rates. that kind of affects things. But we also have seasonal lulls or, kind of rushes. So understanding what's happening when you're jumping into the market is going to be super important. Just so that, you understand if you're looking for something that's 100% turnkey and you don't want to do a single thing, but it needs to be like straight out of Pinterest, you're probably going to be, facing a different market than somebody who's like, oh man, I want that, cosmetic fixer and I'm ready to go in there and personalize this and make it into Pinterest ready. Well, that they're going to have a different market than, these two things. And that's something that's really, we like to stress is that what you're looking for is going to dictate your market and how that process is going to go. Because it's very different for different people at different times. Just like if you're looking for a single family home versus a condo, two very different markets. People who are looking for condos right now have a lot. Condo market is crazy slow. Whereas, the single family home, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the process in this consultation. We need to give you a high level overview of some just what you need to be aware of as far as the money's involved. A lot of times people don't realize there is a cost to buying a home, such as inspections. There is a real cost to those, as well as contingencies to be aware of and earnest money that you're going to have to put down. So we cover all this in a high level overview, not to overwhelm you, but just to give you a sense of, hey, prepare for making a payment for your earnest money and your inspections and appraisal during this process so that you can be best prepared, as well as just the overall process of buying a house. What are the contingencies that you need to be aware of as a buyer so that when we get into this process with you, there's some expectations and you're not like, oh, I didn't know, or asking a lot of questions. And we always
love questions.
We do love questions.
And you may need to hear it several times. And so we will go over it several times. And if you're like, I know you said something about this, don't hesitate to ask, because we'd rather have you ask or voice concerns or voice, early in the process versus waiting, until we get deep into the woods and maybe we've missed something or something like that. So there's just, we're always happy to go over the process, and, we're going to give you ballpark numbers for some of these things. And, if you decide to go after something that's like kind of two homes, or you have an ADU, or you have something, some of these price ranges can, vary a little bit. Like, again, it's going to be a range. Everything's negotiable in real estate. So just know that budget a little extra and it may be a little less, or, it could be a little bit more than what we say in that range. But yeah, there's out-of-pocket costs, there's contingencies, understanding how to use those contingencies, which ones you can actually choose to use versus only, are available if something goes kind of awry is really important. So don't hestate to ask questions. We ask questions, we want you to ask us questions.
All right, so here's the white elephant in the room. Like,
how do you hire us?
Well, it's actually pretty easy. After we've kind of done our buyer consultation, we talk about something that has changed in the real estate industry in the last year, and you probably heard about it. But effectively, we are not allowed and prohibited from showing homes or even virtual tours unless we have a signed agreement with you to effectively hire us.
Yeah.
It's called a buyer service agreement. We share them with you to review, but essentially it talks about the fact that we're going to be your fiduciary. We're going to be representing you, showing you property, writing your offers, negotiating for you, everything that's under the fiduciary ruling, and how we get compensated. And we have to have one of those signed before we can jump out the door. We're doing virtual tours for people all the time. So, but we need to have authorization in order to do that. So effectively, just like you hire, other service providers in your life, it's the same with us now as realtors. And this is all across the board in the United States. So nothing is out of the ordinary, but that's as simple as after we have the buyer consultation, if you're ready to move forward with us, then we will send one over for you to authorize and we'll get to work for you. All right. And that's a wrap on how you can work with us. And like we said, it's so easy to reach out to us and schedule a time to hop on a Zoom call. We love the reach outs. We hope we can connect with you, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.